So good evening, everybody. Welcome. As I said, we're going to have a quick look at WooCommerce, which is a plugin for WordPress. And I believe most people here have already got WordPress. So let me just share my screen.
You got to go, Louisa. Oh.
In about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Can everybody see that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will email out a link afterwards so that everybody can get hold of everything. Yeah. So, let's see if I can get things to work because it's right. So basically, we're not going to show you how to set up a WooCommerce store because that would take forever. Okay. But the idea here behind this is just to give you an idea of what it can do so that you can then realistically analyze it and say, can we use this for our business? Okay, so have we got stuff that we can sell, or could I create something that I could sell? Okay, the plugin itself is free. Okay, so it's another one of these brilliant things that people have come up with. It allows you to create an e-commerce store. Oh, hold on. Let's start again. Okay, things are moving too quickly for me. Right, it allows you to build an e-commerce store, which is basically it's electronic commerce. That's what it stands for. Okay, so you can sell either physical goods, you can sell downloadable products, so PDFs. You can hook WooCommerce up to other plugins such as LearnDash, which is a learning management software. Okay, so you can then sell courses. So the course sits in LearnDash, but people purchase it through WooCommerce. Okay, so there's multiple things that it's capable of doing, and hopefully there straight away I've given you a few ideas potentially where you may be able to use it. Okay, so as I say, you can sell clothes, shoes, whatever, courses. You can set up subscriptions through it. A lot of these things I'm still telling you about, you actually need to put other plugins as well. And for those of you that haven't really used WordPress to any great depth before, the way I explain it to people is that WordPress itself is like the frame of a tent. And then you have a theme, which is like the canvas that you put over the frame. And then plugins give you the ability to add extra functionality. So if your theme, your tent only had one door, a plugin would allow you to put in another door or a window. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so when I'm talking about plugins, these things give you extra functionality. Okay. So I've been through that bit. So yes, it's a plugin. If you just go to your WordPress site, add new plugin and do a search, as I've done there for WooCommerce, it'll turn up. And straight away there, you can see that there are other plugins that work around it, okay, that are going to work with it. So not only has it found WooCommerce, which thankfully has come up top, because that would be a bit unfortunate if it didn't, but you can see that there's a Stripe payment gateway straight away. So you can put that in, and then you can take credit card or debit card payments from people, okay, once you've opened a Stripe account. So that's essentially where you would go and look. And then once you've installed it, there is a whole bunch of components. Those of you that are used to seeing your WordPress dashboard, that is down the side there. So you've got your WooCommerce in, and there's a whole bunch of components that you can see straight away that allow you to sort of administer and manage your store once you've got it going. Okay. So your home, as you would probably expect, just gives you an overview of your WooCommerce store activities. So it's things like what marketing you're doing. You can go and add products straight from there. It gives you some stats on what your sales are and things like that. Okay, so a lot of this you would need to actually go and sort of have a delve into once you've got it going for it to make any sense. Yeah, some of it will probably run through quickly here, but as I say, this is just a wonder. We're not going to go into any depth. I might run another one to show people a bit more in depth about it. Yeah, so overview your orders. What is being processed is another one. So which orders are out for delivery, which are awaiting payment. All of that can be seen in your orders component. And essentially it looks like that. So there you can see that this one here, we've got 2 orders. Strangely enough, both placed by me. I didn't pay any money. How did I manage that? And they're both being processed. Okay, so the orders have not been completed. Okay, but this gives you a quick look and you can see what's going on with your orders through that part of WooCommerce. You can have a look at your customers. So as you can see there, I was last active, what I did, how many orders I've placed, how much I've spent. So you can see how quite quickly you can see who are your best customers. Yeah. And then you can think about generating coupons perhaps to give them or something like that. So how can you reward the people that are doing you a service? Yeah. So that you can produce lots of reports from it. So you can get reports on your orders, on your customers and on your stock. So you can check what your stock levels are, things like that. So essentially that's your reports, looks like that out of the box. And as you can see from this little blue bit here, you'll see this easier when you download the PDF. You can have sales by all sorts. So sales by product, sales by category. If you've issued coupons, it'll tell you what's been used. Okay, so this is real management of your store. So does anybody actually have WooCommerce? Clearly not. Greeted with silence.
I haven't got WordPress yet.
We've got Wix, Mark.
Oh, okay. Are you thinking of changing? You used to have WordPress, didn't you, Gillian?
Yeah, I probably, when we spoke years ago, you are going back a long way. Not at the minute,
okay.
Because we've got our Wix one set up, but I obviously was comparing whether there was any benefit, obviously, as well.
Okay.
There must be a reason, because a lot of people use WordPress.
Well, essentially, it's yours. It's all under your control. So it sits on your domain on a server that, could even be on your own server if you wanted it to be. So that's one of the main things with WordPress. It's completely under your control. There also, because there's about 40% of the internet now on WordPress, there's plenty of people out there that can help you with it. Always a plus. And there is at the moment about between 40 and 50,000 plugins in the repository. That's the word I was looking for. I wanted to say Play Store, and that just didn't sound right. No, it's the repository. It's called the WordPress repository. So there's people constantly creating bits to go with it. Its flexibility is probably its greatest asset, but in some respects, it can also be its biggest downfall.
Why is that, Mark?
Because anybody can go and create it. It's open source software, so anybody can create a plugin. And you just think, oh, I need to do X. You find a plugin that'll do it and you install it. And then two years down the line, whoever created it is not supporting it. And now it's out of date and it won't work and it breaks the website. So it can be quite tricky in that respect, that the flexibility that it has as a community and as a platform can also be its downfall.
And do you pretty much need plugins to do whatever you want to do on WordPress?
Not necessarily, no. If you just wanted to have a website that said, this is my business, contact me, you wouldn't need any plugins at all. You could do it all just through WordPress without adding anything in.
I think Karen meant, do you need a plugin for the shop?
Yeah, so the WooCommerce plug is a plugin. Yeah. So anyway, back to our settings. So we got some general settings that we've got for this. As you can see here, you can put in your shop address. You can, component status. So this tells you the status of everything in Word. So this is part of WooCommerce, and it tells you the status of everything you've got in your build in regard to WooCommerce. So in this instance, it's telling me that this version of WordPress is out of date. That's why it's in red. Okay, so This is really quite useful if you need to go to WooCommerce because you've got a fault. Okay, they will tell you that they want to see this information. Have I just got somebody trying to enter in?
No, Wix has just had to leave.
Oh, sorry, folks. I'm trying to look at something else, and I keep forgetting that I'm on a different machine today, and it's far too sensitive.
And you're going too fast.
No, yeah. Again, right. Let's try from there. Right, that's where we were. Okay, so yeah, if you need to go to somebody and say this isn't working, they will say go to your system status and produce that report and send it to us. So this straight away. I mean, I've only got a bit of it on the screen here, but as I said, in red, it tells you that WordPress is out of date as far as this WooCommerce installation is concerned. Okay, and if I've got any other problems, they will be highlighted in here. And when I send that off, it will help people to actually analyze where the fault is and help me fix it. We can add extensions to WooCommerce. When I showed you the search that I did on the plugin repository, you saw probably then that there was quite a few, like the Stripe one that I mentioned. There's also things like Facebook, Instagram, so you can push your shop straight from WooCommerce. You can push your product straight to your Facebook page or out onto Instagram as well. And then people can buy via those links that you're sending out. Okay, and things like analytics, things like that, you can integrate with it as an extension. So following through on that, this is the extensions that they actually have themselves. So WooCommerce.com, the people that produced the plugin actually have a website, and these people have created extensions. Some of them are theirs and some of them are through trusted partners, so to speak. And as you can see, although the plugin is free, so things like if you want people to do bookings, that's going to cost you from $249 for a year for that plugin. Okay, so it's like all of these things, Shopify, things like that. You have to have extra functionality. It will cost you a bit of money. Okay, so something to bear in mind if you're plotting or planning what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. So, for example, there, Google Analytics is free. So to integrate Google Analytics to see what your people are doing on your shop is free. Okay. So when you look at your settings in general, you put in your location, i.e. where your shop is. Yeah. Now it doesn't have to be a complete address. You can just put in like your country and things. So this is useful when you're doing shipping and taxes and things like that. Okay, so you set where you're going to sell to. So which countries, for example. So this is your, I must have missed a slide there. No, okay, I'll come back to it. I'll show you live in a minute anyway. Your products in here. So yeah, are you going to enable people to leave reviews on your products, for example? And if you can possibly see at the top there, you can control your inventory. You can have your downloadable products set in here. Yeah, so I mentioned about selling PDFs. It's quite acceptable. Your weight and your dimensions for your shipping all goes in here. Yeah, within your products. Yeah, so your measurement type, you can control the reviews, set up how your inventory is going to be controlled. So when are you going to allow out of stock items to show in your shop, for example, so that people can place back orders? Or if when they're gone, are you going to take it out of your shop? Tax. Okay, so you can set up your tax. So you can either say, I'm going to include tax on my prices or I'm not. And then you're going to say where you're going to calculate the tax on. Yeah, so is it on your address? So if you're only going to sell to the UK, which you can do, you can set that up like that. Is that going to be an issue? No, tax isn't in that respect. So yeah, as I said, are you going to charge tax? And you can charge tax, set different tax rates for different countries. Okay, so it could be that you're going to say have tax just for the UK and everybody else is going to get it free of tax on the shipping, especially. Yeah, so that could just be the shipping's not going to cost them any extra in that regard. Shipping. So here you can see that I've got shipping set on this particular one that I just quickly set up only to the United Kingdom. And I've got a flat rate of shipping. And basically what that means is if you buy one item, it's going to cost you this much to have it shipped. Okay, so if you buy two, it's going to cost you double the amount. Yeah, you can have free shipping. You can have a flat rate as I've set up there. You can have a local pickup if you have a physical shop. Or you can get another plug-in and then you can do weight-based shipping. So you can actually say it's £1 for the first kilogram, it's £1.50 for 1 to 2 kilograms, etc., etc. Is that making sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Payments out of the box, that's what you can use. So you can take check payments. I think that's because it's American, probably, or that was the American market where it started. And so, I mean, I know we don't do checks anymore, but I'm not sure about other countries. Cash on delivery, that's fine if you've got people coming to collect stuff, not an issue. So you've got local pickup only as you're shipping. Cash on collection is an option you give them. And obviously, if you're going to allow people to do cash on collection, you can do incentives around that, etc. Just to give you an idea. Or you can have PayPal standard. Yeah, so people can use a PayPal button. We also have accounts and privacy. So one of the things to think about here, depending on what your plan is, what your product is, etc., is do you allow customers to place orders without creating an account? Okay, that's what they call guest checkout. So if you're just selling items for £5, physical products, that may be fine. But if you want to get people in to a mailing list, for example, you would perhaps want them to create an account. Okay, so you could then integrate your WooCommerce with MailChimp, perhaps, so that people would have to opt in or out to go into your mailing list when they create an account and purchase at checkout. You put in your privacy statements and things like that here as well, yeah. So emails, it will email you. So it'll tell you that somebody's placed an order. It will tell you that somebody's paid. It can email you to tell you an item's running low on stock or that it's out of stock. And obviously emails to customers, which are pretty important. So order received, payment received, order processed. It keeps them in the loop. So that's what it comes as default. So you see the first three would go to you, the owner of the store, and the rest are all going to go to the customer. Yeah, and you can manage all of these. You can make some tweaks and changes just to make them a bit personalized. Just that's as it works out of the box. You can do that. And then you can control some of your integrated plugins through that settings function as well. So this one here. So this screen is default by WooCommerce, but you can see at the top, we've got Google Analytics and Instagram both integrated. And this is where we would set up those items and link to our Instagram account, etc. You can also have your WooCommerce account. So ideally you should, especially if you are going to use extensions or integrations, because you purchase them through them. Okay, so by linking it together, it will keep you updated actually in your WordPress dashboard as to when your subscriptions to those other integrations are due. It will help you to do updates to those plugins as well through there. And it will help you with some support. Okay, so WooCommerce does have some support as well. And you can also set up your pages through there. And when I say that, okay, so by default, you'll see here, it says basket page, and it will create a page when you install it that says cart. Okay, now it may be that you want to call it basket. Okay, so you can create a WordPress page called basket, and you may not be able to see that, but on there, there's a little bit of short code. So that's words between two square brackets, and you can then go and put that onto your page that you've created called basket. Select it in the drop down here, and that will override the original settings. So a lot of these things, as I said, because they are Americanized to a degree, you may want to change them. Like I said, basket, you may be happier with that rather than cart. Cart's very American in that respect, and you may want to change that. Okay. You can have a terms and conditions page, which you can link to from here as well. Okay, so that will show up in people's accounts, so they can always see that. And that essentially, the bits down here, these endpoints, you don't want to have anything to do with. Okay, this is just information that you may need if you're going to go and talk to a developer, but leave them set as default is my advice on those. Okay. Oh, and that's, like I said, I'll show that as a PDF. So that was just to give you a quick overview, and that's why I wanted to give you that. Okay. So does anybody have any questions on what we just quickly covered? And we have quickly covered it. I mean, that's about 20 minutes to there.
Mark, as I obviously only know I have my Wix one. Mm-hmm. Would you, looking at all that, that actually looks pretty good. Have you actually worked and set up a Wix one?
No.
Oh, so you don't know anything. Okay, to compare is all I was going to.
No.
Okay.
To be honest, there's just so many different systems out there that I think you'd drive yourself mad if you tried to keep up with them, to be honest. Okay. I know that there are quite a few Wix developers around that can help with these bits and pieces. And in fact, I think Wix will actually put you in touch with some of them. I know Shopify will do that, for example, because Shopify is an e-commerce system. So they will put you onto developers that can help you with their system. I mean, essentially, Gillian, as we say to everybody, I think I was talking to Karen about this the other day, is if you start with your pencil and paper and draw out what you want to achieve, as detailed as you can make it in your business plan, then you look for the tool that will actually deliver it, rather than going out and finding a tool and then trying to squash your plan into it.
That's got a really lot of good things, though. I like that. They seem to link to Shopify, yeah?
Yes, they will do.
Okay.
Yep.
Or you can set up any payment method, like, because you say, and did you say do that through, not through MailChimp, but you would go to obviously.
So there's things like Stripe.
Sorry, that's what I meant, Stripe.
There's go to, no, not Go Cardless. No, there's numerous ones, and now that I'm on the spot, I can't remember any of them. Yeah, so there's numerous ones. I mean, if you look at, like I said, the payments by default. So this is on our website. I've just set this up so people could have a look at it, a live one as we go through. So that by standard, you can take payments through PayPal. So if you just wanted, I think I've got an idea and I think I'm going to sell these, but I don't know if it'll work. You could just put WooCommerce in, switch on PayPal, and then see if what you want to sell, people will actually buy. Yeah, you don't need to make it really flash and complicated to test it and see if it'll work. If you test it and you'll see that it works, okay, so I can sell one of those items. And if you can sell one, you can sell hundreds. Yeah. But now what do I want? If I want to sell one a month, that's potentially now a subscription. So then you could then think about, how do I include that into my model? Yeah. Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
But, yeah, always test first. Because what you think is a brilliant idea, you may unfortunately be the only one that does. So yeah, from that point of view, in as far as you could take WordPress onto a domain, so a domain will cost you probably, including hosting for a year, you could probably get it for about £20. you can put, most hosting companies now have a one-click install of WordPress, and that's free. The WooCommerce plugin, that's free, and you could then take your payments through PayPal. There are some specific themes out there that are for WooCommerce, and they're free. Things like Storefront, which is created by the WooCommerce team, I think. So for you to test the concept, it's not a lot of money. Okay. What you do need to think about is, and Jackie, I think, was berating me gently by email earlier today about this, is you need to think about your terms and conditions, your refund policies, and your terms of use, for example. Yeah, so not only do you need, as a legal requirement for your website, you need a cookie policy and a privacy policy, but you also need to think about your terms and conditions. Yeah, I think a lot of people, 14 days as a refund policy. But how do people get the refund? Yeah, so do they have to send the goods back if it's a physical goods? Are you offering guarantees? You know, that all needs to be included. And that's probably, if you think about it, more important than the fact that you can take the money via PayPal. So yeah, I mean, you as a shopper, how do you shop? Is that important to you? Not just being able to look at pretty pictures, but also to know and be confident that if you don't like what you get, especially now that you can't try things, if you're selling physical products, can I send it back? Yeah, Amazon make it nice and easy. So you need to think about that in your plan. So I just wanted to quickly show you, when we set up WooCommerce, so we've, Karen, you won't have seen this before, but this is your dashboard for managing, for administering your WordPress website. We see that it puts the thing on the side here called WooCommerce, which is great. That's nice and intuitive. We can use that. What you don't realize right out of the straight away is that it also includes this thing here called products, because strangely enough, it's for selling things. So that's where you need to go and sell them. Okay, and those of you that use WordPress already, you'll be surprised to see if you go and add a new product that, oh, come on, internet, that out of, just as you first appear on the page, it's just like a normal postal page, yeah? So you have a title, or here it's called your product name. You have your space here for adding in text. Can I move this? Okay, let's get that out of the way. And as usual for posts and pages, you can save it as a draft. You can publish it immediately, or you can schedule it to publish when you want. And you can publish it from here. And you can add images. So, sorry, let me just, before I zoom through there, okay. A lot of what you're seeing here is specific to the theme that's loaded here. Okay, so that's why I went straight past those bits and pieces, okay. If I'd thought ahead, I'd have closed them off and taken them off the page. Okay, that's a bit better. Okay, so we can have one product image and we can include a gallery. Okay, so for those of you who do shop online a bit, you'll probably see that. Quite used to that. You look at things from different sides and elevations, etc., etc. So that's where you would put in all your images to achieve that. Okay, and just like your posts and pages, you click to add a product, and if you haven't got one in your media library already, you can just drag it over from your hard drive and drop it in. Yeah, so we can just add a product in and set that as a product image. Yeah. And with everything, always preview, make sure you're getting what you expected to get. Oh, I've broken something on my website. Well done, Mark. So I can't see anything at the moment. Okay. So let's have a look at some products that we've already got in, because I created a couple. I just created a test product. So there, yeah, there's my product image. So you can see also we can set here, this is our description of our product, but we also have the option to put in a short description, depending on how you want to lay out your site. So it may be that you give people a short description and they click through to get further details about what you're selling. And here, this area here is all relevant to the product itself. As you can see, it says product data, and we can set our price, we can set whether it's taxable, we can set our stock from in here. So you can control it right down to your product level, yeah? As to SKUs are your product codes, how many you've got, can you allow back orders? This is, you can say, as we looked in the settings before, that your low stock threshold is 2 items, for example, but here you can change it on individual products. So you might say, I've only got 2 of those, so I'll make my low stock threshold 1. Yeah, you can put in your shipping details, so you can add in the weight of the product, size and dimensions, if that's going to be relevant to how you ship things. Yeah, especially if you're doing weight-based shipping. Okay, so if your shipping is set to 0 to 500 grams, and this is 490, it's crucial you include it in there. Yeah, so that will then tell people at checkout, this is how much it's going to cost them for it to be shipped. You can link it to other products. Amazon's a great one for doing linked products. I'm sure most of you have seen that. Yeah, so if you're selling scarves, link it to hats, socks and shoes. I don't know, can't think of anything else off the top of my head. And then you can go on and you can even do things like, so your attributes, you could have different colors, for example. Yeah, so different sizes. So you only would have to create a product once, the details. Yeah, you would only need one set of images potentially for, if you were selling black jeans, for example, but you had different sizes. So as attributes, you would create the sizes, and then you would have what they call a variable product availability. So the variable product being size 10, size 12, whatever. Yeah, and then the customer can select which size they want on the product page. Does that all make sense to everybody? Okay. And the other thing that you also potentially need to include in your plan, especially when you're going to start thinking about a theme. So i.e. the theme is how something looks, yeah? Is what control will the theme give me over WooCommerce? And most of them will say whether it's WooCommerce integration or whatever. And what I mean by that is, if we look at customizing our theme on here, so when we load WooCommerce in, we get the ability to actually change things in our customization for WooCommerce. Yeah, so we can include a store notice. So a good way to remind people perhaps to check on the terms and conditions before they buy, especially for things like digital products, for example. Yeah, because it may be that you don't do a refund. Okay, so if somebody's purchasing a PDF, I mean, I would suggest that you did do a refund, but it's your business, and I wouldn't presume to tell you how you would do that, but it's just something to consider, you know. Or do they only have 14 days? You may want to say that in there. You've only got 5 days to quibble over what you've just bought because it's an electronic product, for example. Okay. You can control how the products are laid out from here. And if you see on the right hand side, it's giving you a quick view of what you're doing and how it's going to look. Yeah. So at the moment we've got image above the content. We can change it round. He said, hopefully, there you go. So it can change the layout quite quickly. You can show here what people are going to see. So at the moment, they're going to see the category and the title, but we can turn those off. So, you know, it's all quite important as to if you're going to be looking after this, how easy is it going to be for you to actually get on and change the layout, manage bits and pieces?
Mark, can I just ask, sorry, in the where you were talking about guarantees, refunds, terms of use, TCs, all that, is there examples already set in this that you could then just alter yourself?
No. If you think about it, one is the different legal distances, if that makes sense, because if they create it in America, for example, how much of that is directly transferable to the UK or Finland or wherever? So the best thing to do is to go and look at somebody else that's in your industry. What are they doing? But especially things where you're setting terms and conditions, you ideally should be thinking about getting a professional to create something for you. Or certainly look over what you've created. Yeah, because you've got to remember that just because Fred said you can't send it back doesn't mean to say it's legally correct. Yeah, and what you don't want to do is have people sort of leaving bad reviews, complaining. Forget lawsuits, forget anything like that, because everything online is so easy for people to leave reviews, etc. You just need to think about that. That needs to be, like I said, this is why it's possibly more important to think about your terms and conditions, etc., which people forget about. So you've set your budget and you're going to go and give a developer $5,000 to produce a website for you, but you may be actually better setting your budget for your website at $2,000 and having $3,000 spent on your legals to make sure that you're able to trade past 3 months.
Okay.
I'm just plucking numbers out of the air there, you understand. Yeah. I don't know if a legal person would cost you $3,000.
I'd hope not.
but it's certainly something to bear in mind. I mean, for instance, cookie policy, okay, which a lot of people don't know about. Okay, if you get fined for it, the fine is up to £500,000. Okay, so that's something you really should think about making sure is in place.
But why do we have to have I mean, when you log on to a website and it says, we have cookies, do you accept them? It's a pain in the butt every single time and no one ever reads them, but you have to have it.
Yep.
And what is a cookie policy?
Well, you have to tell people what you're doing, essentially. So you have to tell them what cookies are. So, I mean, they had this huge thing where they wanted all the people that build the browsers to turn them off by default, but they wouldn't do it. So it came down to Joe Soap to actually have to make sure he's got it on his website. So you just have to tell people you use cookies. And there'll be very few websites that don't. But for example, if you think about this, if you're creating a store where you want people to create an account to buy stuff, okay, so one of the things is it will remember them when they come back. So it helps them. The cookies help them in that respect, yeah? So if they've looked at stuff and perhaps thought, oh, I'll put that into a wish list, I don't want it now, like you do on Amazon. Well, for Amazon to remember that for however long, this is what we're using cookies for. Okay, so they're not evil, as people seem to think, And certain software types like WordPress uses certain cookies right from the word go. Okay, but you just have to tell people. If you use Google Analytics to monitor your website traffic, you are using cookies. Okay, and you have to tell people that. What else can I say, really? That's just, but as I say, the Information Commissioner's Office will respond to any complaints, and they will come and have a look at your website potentially, and the fine can be up to £500,000. So it's a good idea to just put it in place. And like so many things, as far as WordPress is concerned, there's plugins that will do this. This is about the cookies, put this bar in place and things for you. You have to write the policy. Yeah, some of them will have basic words in them that tells people what a cookie is, but you actually have to say what your policy is about cookies. That's the bit that you need to write.
So there's obviously examples online of cookie policies.
Yep. I can't remember. I think it might be iBunder or something like that. Is somebody that actually will do them for you. So they have. It's one of these freemium services where you can say, if you just say, I'm just using Google Analytics, it won't cost you anything. So you tick a box and it creates the policy for you. And then you have to integrate it into your website. But if you say I'm using Analytics and Facebook, for example, the Facebook Pixel, because you've now picked two, they'll charge you $5 a month or whatever, so that you've got both of them. But again, they will create the thing for you. And the last time I looked at them, they were compliant with EU law, the policies that they were creating. So I went on a webinar that they did once, and then they did them. Although they were based in the States, they were based in California, whose laws are quite strict anyway. They had European lawyers involved as well to make sure they complied with European law. So I'll make a note of that actually and put it up for people.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll put a link to them. So yeah, it'll help you if you don't want to get a legal person involved in that respect. But don't forget, you also need to have a privacy policy. You're, again, especially if you're asking for people to sign up to create an account, but also they're going to be putting in things like their PayPal details, things like that. Now, although you as the website owner do not control what PayPal does, you also have to think about people's perceptions of these things. So I bought this from you, therefore it's your fault. The fact that you sent them away to PayPal to pay and something happened isn't going to figure into their thoughts. It's I bought it from you, so it's your fault. Now, I'm not saying legally that's correct, but that's just how people's minds work. So put that into your planning, put it into your terms and conditions. In your privacy policy, if you're collecting details. So like I said, you can have a tick box on your checkout where people can be sent into a MailChimp account as well. So tell them in your privacy policy you're doing that. You collect these names. What do you collect these names for? Yeah. If you think about it logically, if you're selling physical products, you've got to post it to somebody. So they've just given you their postal address, name and address. So another thing you might want to think about is signing up with the Information Commissioner's Office for the data protection. Yeah, there's a short little questionnaire you go through on their website, and it will tell you when you say I do this, that, and the other. It will tell you whether you need to have. It's like £40 a year, I think it is, to sign up with them. But it'll run you through it and it'll tell you. Also, don't forget, if you're based in the UK and you're a business, you have to have your business details on your website. Yeah, so people can contact you.
So can people say no to they don't accept the cookie policy, or do they have to say that? Or
yeah, they can. If you look at a lot of them nowadays, you can either accept or reject. And quite often, the sort of thing that would happen if you rejected some of it is you may not be able to create an account. You may not be able to create, so I said you can have things, additional plugins you can use for this, so people can put stuff into a wish list. That may not work. Yeah, because they've rejected the cookies. So, you know, that's you just have to say in your thing that if you reject the cookies, some functionality of this website may not work.
Okay, thank you.
Mark?
Yeah.
Also, I noticed the other day that some of them are doing it. If you don't accept the cookies, they throw you out. You can't actually get in onto their website. I've had a couple of them do it over the last week.
Yeah, I should imagine that's down to whatever the content is and the fact that they perhaps need the cookies to deliver what they're doing. So that's a possibility. Yeah. Right, folks, that's time. So hopefully it's given you an idea as to whether or not an e-commerce is a viable solution for you. Forget WooCommerce just for this moment, because I know that's what we've just talked about. But just as a solution for you as a business, e-commerce, electronic commerce, is that a possibility for you? As I say, the many and varied pitfalls that could possibly come in anyway, especially one of our clients works, they're in Croatia and they ship all around the world, and you wouldn't believe the tax things, etc., that come into play, and the shipping rates and whatever. And you can also, if you're going to do shipping, for example, around the world, you can have tracking and everything included in this. Yeah, so it really is very complex in that respect. But for you to test and see if you could sell something, like I said, I think that hopefully we've given you an idea as to whether or not this would be